How's it going, everyone? Dr. Frankie Bashan here with another episode of Love, Laughs, and Lessons with my co-host, Denise Ray. We have another amazing guest who Denise will actually introduce momentarily. But for those of you who have recently found our podcast, please subscribe, share, like, and do all the good stuff. Today we're going to talk about sex, baby. And we're thrilled to have you all here with us. So Denise, go ahead, take it away.
Absolutely. So welcome back. I'd love to introduce to you April Hirschman. April is a sex and relationship coach. She's also an author of two impactful books, Best Breakup Ever and Desire Makes Me Brave. April is also a life coach, a belly dancer, a filmmaker, a yoga instructor, and there are so many things that April does, and she's so phenomenal at each one of those things. And so I cannot wait for April to share with us her insights, her tips, her tools. April creates warm, open spaces for clients to explore their sexuality and relationships. So whether you're looking to connect with yourself or deepen an existing relationship or consciously in one, April's going to meet you where you are. Her life vibrates with pleasure, self-acceptance, and delicious experiences. She's a world traveler, a language lover, and she brings a rich, multidimensional approach to her work. So please join me in welcoming April. Happy to have you.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's a big year for me. So I'm having a milestone birthday. And not only is it my book launch of my first memoir, Desire Makes Me Brave, but it's my launch is a retrospective of all my arts. So my party in San Francisco was amazing with over 100 people. And we did a retrospective of all my films and poetry and plays I've written and visual arts. So it's a very exciting time in my life. And I'm doing a book tour. I did SF New York, up next Seattle, and Lesbos, Greece. I'm going to hang out with the Lesbosians. I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice. That's been coming up a lot in the last, I would say, 3 years. So that's exciting.
Yeah. And I just, I love working with individuals, helping them find partnership, get comfortable in different dating things. And then I also work with couples, and that's a really fun dynamic as well.
And lots of coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Denise.
No, I was going to ask, how have your personal experiences shaped your approach to coaching, to writing, to like all the different things that you do?
Yeah, I think because I'm bisexual and I'm a world traveler and I love to explore and just am very non-judgmental. I grew up in a hippie commune. So the ethos in my family was like celebrate, live and let live. So I'm just really want to inspire my clients and my readers to live, life of pleasure, to reduce shame and to really live a life that we fashion ourselves and throughout the blueprint of what we should do.
And what does that look like for you? So it's just being creative in all these amazing ways.
Yeah. I mean, I'm, sorry, having a brain cloud. For me, yeah, being an artist, being a traveler, working with clients, those are the main ways.
I think it's sometimes when you're out of the box kind of thinker like me, it can be, right? It's just like there's just all these ways in which my mind goes in all these directions. And a lot of times people are uncomfortable with the unfamiliar and out of the box thinking. And you kind of just have to trust your own gut and just go with it and trust all will be okay. So so you're going with it in this next phase of life, launching another book. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been married. I never wanted kids. I didn't go to a 4-year college, although I've done a lot of education. So, and I'm also, I don't have a church I belong to. I don't like sports. So if you think of all of those different categories, if you do all of those things, life is a lot more clear. Like these are the things you do. This is the sports you watch on Friday, the church you go on Sunday. A lot of your time is spent taking care of kids, and that just hasn't been my life. And so I am just a pioneer like both of you are. And yeah, and I want to just say too that I've been a fan of Dr. Frankie for a really long time. I got to be in her system a long time ago, and she set me on some dates. I got to work for a little gay book for a while. And I'm just a big fan of your newsletters. They're really well written. I get a lot of ideas from them. So I just wanted to let everyone know that I have a really fun history with Dr. Frankie too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. You were hosting awesome events in San Francisco for us early on. I don't know, maybe like 12 years ago. It's been over a decade, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I remember you back then. Met up in some coffee shop, and you did my tarot card reading or something. Didn't you do some? Like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. Yeah, I have a lot. I'm a multi hyphenate. Yeah, also a tarot card reader. I started as a tarot card reader and I love it. And it's a really great way for people to understand their lives like symbolically. But then people's response to tarot is like, that's amazing, April. I'll see you never again. So I'm like, cool. Not a great business model. So that's when I became a life coach and then later a sex coach. Cause then I can see people weekly, as fun as it is to dazzle someone with an amazing tarot reading one time. Now that I can see clients weekly, it's a lot more satisfying.
Yeah.
So,
You're,
let's talk about one second. I have this. Let's
yeah.
talk about sex. Let's get to it because I think listeners are like, all right, well, this is the sex series. So what are we talking about? So what's the most common thing that comes up in your practice these days?
It's with couples, it's sometimes they just haven't had sex in so long that they don't know how to get back into it. And my favorite tip for that is what I call the push. So the push is not pushing past your boundaries. The push is it's late on a Tuesday night, it's 9 p.m. Couldn't you just go to bed and roll away from your partner? You have to get up in the work in the morning, you have kids. So instead of doing that, you just check in with yourself and you go, okay, could I push myself a little bit? Could I ask my partner for a kiss? Could I say, could we cuddle? Could I go down on them? Like, is there something that you could do that, and if you try it and it actually feels good, you've kind of pushed yourself out of the rut and you've
Mhm.
connected, and maybe your partner will be delighted that you just made that small effort. And if both partners are working with me and they're wanting to do the push, they kind of just like can look at each other and be like, let's push a little bit tonight. I actually really do want to connect with you, or an orgasm would actually be stress relieving even more than sleep.
Mhm.
I like it.
Yeah. And then I'm just thinking with the push, are you asking your partner? Or are you just beforehand? Or are you just going down on them?
Great question. Well, that gets into a whole other thing of like relationship styles, right? Because some people like to be asked, even in a long-term relationship, and some people like to be surprised. Some people like to be taken. So yeah, you want to know in advance if your partner likes that. And then the push is kind of a little conversation you have quickly with yourself, like, hey, let me get out of this rut. I was going to go and watch TV. Instead of going to watch TV, I'm going to climb in bed and just check in with my partner and see if they're available for some kind of intimacy.
hmm hmm How receptive are your clients in doing the push? What's the feedback that you get?
Um, with the parents, there's a little bit more resistance, understandably, especially the one that's given birth to the kids. But I've definitely had some success with it. It's like over time, right? There's not a magical cure or a magical change, but if people just kind of keep trying, sometimes that's why you go to therapy weekly, is because you kind of forgot what you said 3 years ago. It was this, or sorry, three sessions ago, it was this big breakthrough, and you've forgotten about it. So it's the accountability of coming every week and getting reminded of that.
I think support. Yeah. I like therapy, being in some, being held accountable because it's hard to do that on your own. So it's so important to be able to look to somebody, especially in an area where you don't have expertise and you're not so comfortable, and, having a coach around sex too. That's a hard one in relationship because we have all these different, right, ideas in our head. We were raised differently than our partners, and it's hard, especially when you have children, right? And it's another phase in life and you're not feeling so sexy. You're getting stuck in a rut and it's hard to initiate. And where do you get that push from? And how do you even initiate, even when you want to do the push? I love how you call it a push because it's exactly that. Just a little, just enough. Because once you get going, you're like, oh, I remember now. why I enjoy this. It's just getting over that little hump of, right? Oh, I'm tired and I really want to just go to sleep, but
Yeah,
just,
I'm a big fan of micro movements. Like, you're not going to jog for an hour today. What if you walked around the block? You're
yeah.
not going to do 20 minutes of yoga. What if you did 3 cat cows? Maybe you're not going to have the greatest sex of your life for 5 hours like you did on the first month you're dating, but what is available?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. What are your single clients looking for?
I think they're looking for confidence. A lot of them are really struggling with being confident in even asking someone out, how to text on dating apps, and then how to touch like the first time they're on a date, or how to kiss, or how to, so it's a lot about confidence and initiation,
Mhm,
and also having resiliency in the face of rejection. If we can think of rejection as a way of building resiliency, of building acceptance in ourselves and knowing that we're valuable, whether this one person we went on a date with thinks so or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, I think, the biggest fear that I hear coming up is the fear of rejection, fear of abandonment,
mhm, mhm,
those two.
Yeah. And, with women dating women, I've been to a lot of queer events where I really wanted to be approached. I feel like I approach a lot. And it does take a lot. I have to give myself a little talking to. And one thing I do sometimes when I'm approaching a woman to, potentially date her, and, this isn't the most confident thing, but it's something. I will sometimes go up to a woman with my business card and I'll say, I'm sure you probably have a wife or a girlfriend, but I hope this is flattering. And then I hand them my card, I smile, and I turn on my heel and I walk away. So if you're a little bit more shy and if you can get that, going, that's a nice way to do it.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that. And
I do too.
has it worked out for you?
I've had some follow up. I did have one follow up just with a person saying, this was flattering. Thank you. The other people didn't follow up. So I assume they were either not interested or they did, in fact, have a girlfriend or a wife.
And is your business card more of a generic business card or is it your real life? I'm thinking it's a more generic business card.
Ideally, if you're really going to be planned out about this, just have your name and number on it. That
Yeah,
I usually have my full business card because that's just what I have on hand. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a good tip. I really do. I think that's a good tip. Generic business card. I always say two truths and a flirt. So, that's the way of approaching someone, do two truths and then whatever the flirt is, and then hand that business card and turn on your heels and walk away.
Wait,
Okay.
how
I
does
love
that
that.
work? Wait, what would that look like?
I know I
So
want to know too.
two truths and a flirt. So two truths, something that's like really obvious. This is a great event. I'm having an amazing time. There's so many people here. And then the flirt, whatever that is for you. Whatever it is that you have a great smile, your eyes are amazing. So just a way of, so it's not just so flirty that you've come up and now you're like, it feels like a line, that
Mhm.
it eases more into casual conversation. So you offer two truths and a flirt.
I'm gonna try it. It's yeah, Pride is coming up, so I'm gonna try it.
Also, get yourself a business card with a Google phone number that's separate from your number, just in case.
That's a good
You know,
idea.
it's
I
free.
have
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I do have one of those. I didn't think of using that. That is a good idea.
You just never know. They're strangers, right? And if you're gonna like shoot your shot, you just go. You just don't know. So just go shoot your shot and don't worry about it, and know that
And
you're
don't
gonna be
worry
fine,
about it.
even if you come across somebody who maybe is a little out there.
So then yes, and when people are using dating apps, I like to be efficient. So, get some text back and forth, then get on the app, then get them off the app, and then either go to a phone call or a coffee date. Don't text forever with people that you might like someday or that live so far away that you probably aren't going to meet. So kind of be more efficient, get into either a real life meeting or a phone call, and then if someone is like arguing with you or difficult, like just don't spend time. These you're never going to see these people again. And if you had two texts exchanged and they ghost, it's okay. You kind of have to have this sort of detached involvement with dating. Like, don't be attached until you actually are in a relationship with someone or have had 3 in-person dates. So I'm a big fan of not doing a ton of texting with someone you don't know. And then to not be offended when people are rude, just move on to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think you have to have a little bit of a an open mind with dating nowadays, right? So I like that advice of not being attached and just keep it moving and weed through. Unfortunately, we do have to weed through everything that's in there to get to, the prize. Yeah.
You know what I think it is our brains are programmed to to be polite and engaged with everyone, right? But a lot of us didn't grow up with this opportunity to engage with so many people. Like I feel
It,
like when I was 15, I was aware of like 100 people total in the world or something. Maybe it was more, but now we're aware of thousands, right? This person, on an app is just not someone that you need to be so polite, take care of, follow up. Really just focus on the people that are engaging and that can write more than hey in a back and forth
Yes.
conversation.
Like, don't expect, if you're going to put that little effort, don't expect to get a response. Hey,
right.
exclamation mark. No. Let's read the profile, really stop for a minute and think about what grabbed you about that person, right? Make it personal. And then
Yeah.
you'll probably hear back from somebody.
Exactly.
This is
Make
so
it
true.
personal. And then, yeah, in terms of meeting people in real life, I kind of like to be old fashioned and I am walking the talk. I've done this to, I think, 3 people this week. I've let people know I'm like, hey, I'm actually not dating anyone seriously right now. I would love to be matched up. I'm bisexual, so you have a lot of options. And yeah, match make me. And I would do the same for them. I'd be delighted if someone told me that they wanted support on that. And I think that's kind of fun to think about it. So it is kind of old fashioned, or invite me as a +1 to your wedding, or if you're having a barbecue, like I would love to come and kind of expand my social group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're reaching out to your friends and saying, "Hey, I'm single. Hook a sister up."
Right. Which is vulnerable, right? But
Yeah,
relationships are about
very.
vulnerability. So we can start there.
Then you also want to let them know, look, if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to come back to you and blame you for it. Because I think people get worried about that. They don't
Yes.
want to feel responsible.
They don't
So,
want to feel responsible. That's
yeah,
right.
you can
True.
say it's on me. I'm asking you to do this. I have no expectation, like zero expectation for, the outcome. I'm gonna let go of that.
Well, that's good, right? Because here we got Frankie's a professional matchmaker. So it's important. It's
Yeah.
important to, get that information out. That's a good thing. Take the pressure off them. This is not about you having anything else besides the initial introduction.
Mhm.
Exactly. They are not responsible. We are adults, responsible for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love though the idea of asking for for family, friends, peers, like, hey, I'm single.
I'm
Don't
single.
forget about me. Happy to
Yeah.
be introduced, because they may assume that you're not open to being introduced, even if they're okay with coordinating something. So
Yeah.
let them know. And it's so hard to meet people today, right? It's like the go-to way is dating apps, and people complain about those, right? Every day we hear about it, how tough it is. And then matchmaking, and you can't go to a bar anymore. You don't meet people at the gym, supermarket. They don't
All
Right.
knock
the
on your
places
door.
that you're supposed to. No,
And you know
no
what's
one is
interesting?
paying attention.
You know what's
Oh,
interesting
because they're
too?
looking at their phone.
Exactly. You know what's interesting? Frankie, what you just said made me think of something that I haven't thought about with dating apps. So if I were to meet someone in the bar, this is the energy I'm going to bring. I'm dressed up. I showered. I had a little hit of caffeine and I'm ready to rock. When I'm texting on a dating app, it could be I can't sleep. I look at my phone at 2 a.m. I'm not at my best. I'm a
Right.
little grumpy, I'm a little lazy. And then this is how I'm sharing the first connection with someone. So you're actually helping me see that for myself and for anyone who's listening, I think we should really try to bring our A game to being on the app. And maybe you don't send texts in the middle of the night. And maybe you really sit down and have some coffee at whatever time of day you're most lucid, maybe 12 p.m. And that's when you craft these texts. That's when you swipe.
I agree. Yeah. I always say don't spend more than 20 minutes on there and do it. Yeah. When you're clear headed, when you have energy, when you're in a good mental space and feeling positive because you're putting out that energy. And if you're feeling negative and you're grumpy and tired, yeah, that's going to come through in your messaging.
Yes. Thank you for that. I'm going to set a timer. I love that.
But I also think when you first start out, you start out with all of that energy. And then after a while, not so much. So
That's true.
what would you suggest for people to keep that energy up? Like, should they take a break? Should they go off the app? You know?
Yeah. I think sometimes you really got to check in with yourself. If you're swiping and getting grumpy, then which I've done many times, especially because I'm open to dating feminine women. I'm much more attracted to masculine presenting humans. And when I start swiping and I've gone through 100 feminine women, I can get pretty frustrated. So I think sometimes I do need to take breaks for that reason. I think sometimes we just don't want to focus on dating because we aren't feeling positive it. So then we want to take a break, get off the apps, maybe get back on just one, be more conscious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only way you're going to have longevity in it is to have really good boundaries around it.
Yeah.
I I
Yeah.
want to share another tip that I learned from you, Frankie, which I think of almost every day and I go on. Your you say end on a high, I think it was you, end on a high note and leave earlier. Like don't drag it out. Don't have the third drink. Don't stay till 1 a.m. Like go home. Just
Oh,
like
you want to leave them wanting more.
that's what
That's
it was.
right.
Yep.
That's
Leave them
right.
wanting more, like a
Yeah.
good Broadway musical.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard though, because you just imagine that you're searching for this connection and you finally get this connection with someone. And of course, it feels like we've known each other all of our lives. And we want to go into the hour one is done, but oh my gosh, we have so much in common. Time is just flow. How do you stop yourself to say, like, this is
Yeah.
the hard stop? Yeah.
Ooh,
You
good
control your frontal
question.
lobe. Okay, frontal lobe. Yeah, executive functioning, please. This is when I need to, say this has been
Fine.
lovely. I'd love to see you
Yes,
again. Yeah,
that's right.
but I've got to go. Yeah, because the amygdala is just like, woo. Just having a good time. Oxytocin is flowing, serotonin, norepinephrine. Yeah. So we just
Yeah.
gotta be adults again and say, okay, like this is feeling really good. I want more of this. That means that I need to, yeah, express my interest and
Mhm.
make a suggestion to hang out again another time really soon. What are your thoughts, April?
Yeah, I agree. And sadly, every once in a while, it's not a match. Like I was on a date recently and I thought it went great. And I thought, I spent quite a lot of time with this person and then they weren't interested. They're like, the chemistry wasn't there. And I was like, okay, so that's time I'll never get back. you know?
But were you thinking the chemistry was there for the
I
both of you? You
I
felt it.
was. I
Yeah.
was. And right, you never know from one date. Like people could be going through all this stuff that you're not aware of. But that's another example of me just being resilient in dating as best I can. I'm not always, but just be like, okay, next, please.
Yeah.
It's hard
That's
though to not get your hopes up. Like when you feel like it's good to then not, you go into the next date wondering if you can't trust your gut.
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Or am I really having the same time that they're having? I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's why I like the check-ins. I like that, when you're dating, check in. I'm having a really great time. How's this for you? Like, like check in.
The only
That's
thing
true.
is, what happens sometimes you speak, let me know what you think, April, about this. But I think sometimes people don't want to hurt people's feelings face to face. So they
And those,
will act as if they're having a great time, and maybe they are having a good time, but there's not chemistry and they have already decided that they're not actually going to see you again. So that's a tough one when you're on the kind of, you put them on the spot. I don't know. What do you think?
That's true. I don't like to put them on the spot. I don't like to I mean, if you can both feel it and you just go, "Hey, do you think you'll want another date?" It seems harmless, even if they change their mind. But if it's unsure at all, I think it's better not to put people on the spot. I don't like when I get put on the spot, and goddess forbid I should have to reject someone to their face. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Gosh, it's gotten complicated.
I think
why do
it's
you think
best
that's,
to
yeah,
do, I just think it's best to be, if somebody asks you right then and there, to be honest in the kindest way possible. Like,
Yeah.
I'm having a really good time. I'm not really sensing a romantic connection, but I'm enjoying getting to know you, or, yeah, go ahead, Denise.
yeah. So, but should we be feeling a romantic connection on the first date all the time?
Mm.
So that's the, right.
That's a great philosophical question, right? Um, I mean, it brings me to the mindset that I go into a date on. My mindset is I'm gonna have a good time with April. I like dressing up, so I get dressed up. I get my nice dress, my heels, and I'm just like I'm gonna go. It's often a dinner date, and I'm like I love food. I love company for dinner. So I have a lot of things going for me with dating. Some people I know just like hate the part where you have to go to dinner with somebody, but that you don't know well. But I'm just like, I'm going out on the town. I look great. I'm going to have a fun time. And so then, what you're saying, Denise, is like, I don't get high expectations about the romantic connection. I just go, this is company for tonight. I'm going to have a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. Earlier you said sometimes that, you don't feel it with someone. What is it that you're looking to feel, and what should our listeners be looking to at least feel, if anything at all, on a first date?
Well, this is a great time to check in with your body because I do, I'm trained in the somatica method. So body based connection. Yeah. Like could be anything from are your shoulders relaxed or are you tense, but in a like nervous turn on way? Is your pussy tingling? Are your armpits sweating in a way that means like you've got skin in the game, like you like this person? Or conversely, do you feel like you're looking at your clock? Are you starting to start your favorite show at home and put your feet up in your robe? Your mind is wandering, to watching Bridgerton or something. So
Right.
just kind of check in, with your body. How is your body responding to this person? Sometimes going to the bathroom, for lack of a better idea, is a time to just check in with yourself. How is my body feeling? Am I comfortable?
Mhm,
You just
mhm.
bringing up the pussy tingling, which I love, reminding me that we're not talking about sex. We're just talking about dating.
Right.
We're talking about
We're
dating
talking
apps.
about
What
dating. So
happened?
now, I don't
Yeah.
know. We just went sideways. Because I guess we have to get the date first to get to the sex.
Oh, okay,
Or
Okay.
that's
do
good.
we?
That's
Or
good.
do we?
Oh my God. Let's talk. Okay, let's get back to the sex. All
Yes,
right.
please.
So
But I think people want to hear more about sex.
where shall we begin?
Maybe you tell us, like, you jump in and we'll go from there.
Well, what I've always liked about, sex with, uh, lesbians, bisexuals, masculine of center, trans, all of your community and listeners is not completely focused on, penetration, dildo penetration. It can be much more creative because that's not like the whole focus. And so I like people to have ongoing conversations about sex. I know it sounds so simple and obvious, but I haven't gotten that enough in my relationships. Maybe a weekly check-in, like, let's talk about if you're going to talk about every week, it's not like, "Oh my God, why is my partner bringing this up? There must be something wrong." Dun dun dun. Instead of like,
Mhm,
this is our
mhm.
flirty date where we check in about sex and what we like. So like, and try to get really specific. Like, I want to hear romantic words. I want you to say, "I'll love you forever." I want you to say, "I'm not going anywhere." This is the kind of touch I like. I'd like you to be a little bit more aggressive, or I'd like you to warm up my clit a little longer before you go inside me. Like, just get really specific. What do you want to hear? What do you want to feel? And then the other thing is teaching our partners. And I teach people on a first date. I mean, I've been on a first date with someone that was kissing me, and I'm like, I like to have a little drier kiss the first time. So I'm going to ask for a little less tongue. And this person was totally startled. No one had ever, redirected their kissing style. But with long-term partners, short-term partners, like, advocate. If you don't like someone to do really repetitive motion on your arm, does anyone ever have that where someone's talking to you and they think they're having a physical connection with you and they're just repetitively rubbing your elbow and you're like, God, that's so irritating, just say like, hey, I don't so much like repetitive touch. So this is called like redirecting. Hey, I don't so much like repetitive touch. Could you slowly touch my shoulder? Or I'd actually prefer if you touch my thighs. Would you mind doing that? So really getting specific with a person on a first date that we're starting touch with our wife of 10 years, teach them how to be in intimacy.
I find it's hard for folks to talk about sex and intimacy, like giving them that exercise to go home and carve out time on a weekly basis. I bet when you follow up with them the following week and you ask them if they have set aside that time and they followed through, many of them say, no, they come up with a reason that they didn't. Is that the case?
Yeah, that happens a lot. And it's, we're really trying to change culture. We're really trying to change deep priorities because our culture prioritizes productivity, shopping, ambition,
Mhm.
service, being a good, devoted, and sometimes martyred parent. Right. And so once all those things are checked off, who's going to have time to be like, hey, I would like you to kiss me, with our lips like intertwining in this specific way. But I think it's our time. It is our time to prioritize pleasure and to come back again and again, to the garden of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't know how to have the conversation. So I don't think, maybe it's not that they don't want to, but it's an awkward, like, are we sitting across the table from one another? Are we, right? What's the setup? Is this at the dinner table? Like, are we on the bed? Like,
Are we
what's the
taking a
setup?
walk so we
Are
don't
we
have to
taking a
look at
walk?
each other
That's
right in
right.
the
Is
eyes?
the dog
Yeah.
there?
Oh my gosh, I have a strong opinion that the dog is not there unless it's sleeping because I have dogs that rumple through my couple sessions and then they're fussing with the dog for 20 minutes and I'm like, this
Of
is
course.
indicative of both why you're not focused on each other in therapy and why you're not having as much sex because these dogs are ruling. Now the dog lovers are going to be coming for me. But no, dog lovers, I love that you have dogs. I just want you to also, you know, prioritize. And I do think it's good we'll check in, right? Some people do like to be not looking at each other. So they want to have these conversations, like walking, like Frankie said, or driving in the car. Other people want to be snuggled on the couch together and looking at each other. But it is better to not do it like in the heat of the moment, like suddenly like stop sex and be like, I kind of got triggered and turned off. And I've been wanting to tell you that the way you touch me bugs me. Like that's going to be
Don't do this.
don't do, don't do, yeah.
In that vulnerable moment when you're feeling really like, yeah, kind of exposed.
No.
Yeah, I agree, April. Yeah, save it for a non-sexual vulnerable moment.
Yeah. And just, yeah, keep people up to date, right? If you're married, you're up to date on your, finances, or you're like, we've got this plan for this trip. Why is it different? Why can't we be up to date on, our sexual desires?
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Do you
What
give,
else you got, April?
yeah, do you give your clients guidance about how to even start the dialogue?
Yeah, I like to just say, like, hey, what do you think about us having more regular talks about sex? I want to right away say these are all the things that I love about our sex life. You want to do the compliment sandwich. I love how much eye contact we have. I love how much snuggling we do. I love that we've been having this shower sex. And, we're growing and changing. Our bodies are changing. Our hormones are changing. I just love to be more up to date. Like, could you just let me know, like, what are some things you've been wanting to add to our sex life? That could be an
Good.
example script.
That's good though. That's good. Yeah. It's better because when you start talking about the compliment sandwich, it always feels like and but. So I was waiting for you to say the but you didn't. So I like the way you, yeah.
So are you
Yeah.
finding like a common issue? This has come up a lot in my practice where people are having like they're watching too much porn, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't had that with my, women clients as much. So I haven't seen that. You can integrate porn into your connection, depending on how you feel. Like, can go down on your partner while they're watching porn. Some people that would turn them on. You can watch porn together. Right. Because anything we resist persists, right? If we gonna say, oh, I'm gonna go cold turkey and not watch porn, it might create, it's like me being like, I'm not gonna have dessert tonight. And then the next moment I've stopped at 7-Eleven, I've gotten ice cream and magic shell and cones, and I'm going to make myself an ice cream cone that very night. Which I did last night and it was delicious.
With all the extras, because why not?
But yeah, but it's porn is a tricky one. Gosh. Yeah, to not so that's also a way it can be a way that we don't deal with intimacy and we don't deal with the conversations of how to improve our sex life. We kind of just go for what's a little bit more convenient, which is just having sex with ourselves and watching porn. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And then you kind of get further away from being with another person, which then makes it even scarier, more intimidating. Yeah.
Right. I do encourage people to bring self pleasure. And I'm trying to use the word self pleasure more than masturbate because I just don't think masturbation is a pretty word. So, self pleasure, bring it more into the couple dynamic, because it's a way that most of us have gotten most of our orgasms. The communication loop is direct between your brain and your own finger or your own use of your hands on the vibrator, et cetera. And so to just, do some mutual self pleasure, watch each other self pleasure, watch porn together and do that and just throw it into the mix, right? Like you can do different dances together on the dance floor. You can do a little salsa, you can do a little ballroom, you can do a little prom slow dancing, right? It doesn't have to be just one dance, so get some masturbation into that, perhaps. Maybe I like it sometimes when I'm tired, and I'm just using it to get back to sleep. I like my partner to put their arms around me, maybe just touch my breast while I touch myself. And my orgasms are way stronger than if I was just by myself touching myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it's, nice when you can feel safe and comfortable in relationship and ask your partner, hug me, hold me while I masturbate, because sometimes they feel threatened where it's like, wait a minute, what about your
Wasn't I enough? Or,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, we got to kind of change those stories. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if pleasure's the goal, like how can we give each other pleasure? And people's definitions are so different of what that is. Some people really want to take a walk with their partner. That's foreplay or that's sex to them, or they really want their hair brushed or they want to be read to. Other people, want to be taking their partner from behind with a dildo, so we just have to keep communicating like what do we want now? And it shifts,
Mm-hmm.
it shifts within one session of having sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why communication is so important. Not to make assumptions and just asking
Mhm.
for what we need. That's another thing that comes up a lot in our work where just people have a hard time asking for what they need or what they want. And there's shame around it, depending on how you grew up.
Yeah, people socialize as women. We were grown up to please, to ask what the
Mm-hmm.
other person wants, to have no needs. If we have too many needs, we're a slut. If we're too quiet, we're a prude. And so to kind of advocate, especially people in all three of our generations, like we really grew up. And if any of us started out dating men, it was so much about their needs were just blasting over us. And we couldn't even find our needs within all of that, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
Yeah.
knowing that it's okay, it's okay to want something to be a little bit different or really different. It's okay to express it. And actually, it's really important. Studies are coming out now that are showing that if you brush it under the rug, you push it aside, stuff it, it's actually a recipe for like failed relationships because it just keeps building up.
Right. Which goes back to what we were talking about. It's like prioritize pleasure over all of those other 5 things I mentioned, like, like ambition, productivity. And I have another really fun specific tip that I use with my lovers. And it's when they're gonna go down on me for the first time or put finger inside or all of the above, I say, you can do your own version of this depending on what you call your genitals. But I say, my pussy has her desires and her rhythms. And I want you to look at her. I want you to slow down and listen to her and communicate with her and find her rhythm.
Mhm.
I just saying that, you won't believe, like someone will be having a finger inside of me in a way that doesn't feel good. I say that sentence and suddenly it's just like they're communicating directly with my pussy. It's amazing.
They tune right in.
They tune right in, Denise.
They
Yes.
tune right in.
It's
That's it.
amazing. So like whatever you call your genitals, like try it. And I mean, it's exactly what I mean. Like exactly what I'm saying. I want them between your legs. I want them smelling, listening, slowing down, and then start to touch, taste, go inside with that kind of attunement. That I love, genital gazing. I think genital gazing is really cool. That's just what it sounds like. It's almost like a meditation. And again, we're so frazzled in this life right now to just have, a real common meditation a lot of people teach you is to watch a candle and just look at it and breathe. So this is instead of the candle, you're watching someone's genitals, get yourself comfortable, get a pillow,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
do some gazing and slow down. I remember being like a 20-year-old and I was having sex with a lot of men at the time. And I was like, you know what? I don't want these guys to put their dick inside of me until they look at my pussy. Just that.
Mhm.
So like, why are you shoving yourself inside or shoving something inside of me before you've really looked at me and really taken time with me?
Mhm. That's amazing that early on that you had that awareness, that
Yeah.
need to just kind of be seen, really seen.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Because I know one of the, big exercises early on when we tell women to just like raise your legs, sit in front of the mirror and like look at it all. Look at its in all its beauty. Look at all of it, And they're like, I've not seen it. I don't
I,
is it
I can probably guess that there are people now that have not seen it.
yes.
And if you suggested that, they would be like, "What? No way." My
Yeah.
mother gave me the mirror.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that.
That's cool. Yeah. My mom
That
did not give me the mirror.
that reminds me of something my poor mom, or maybe not, if we lived in like a feminist, pussy loving world, but I was like really in my feminism when I was 19 and I went to the gynecologist and she's like, here's a clear speculum. You could take it home and like look at, everything. And like, I was like, okay. I got in the mirror and I was like, Mom, do you want to see it too? Can't believe I did that. I bet she doesn't even remember that. And she was like trying so hard to not shame me. I mean, I came out of her vagina. It shouldn't be such a big deal, but it's a lot because that's just not how we do things, right? Whereas
Right.
if we had external genitalia, like often people do, like that's not even conversation. Like it's just there. You're in the shower, you walk by naked, and people have seen your genitalia, but people don't always see their own cervix or even, their clit. And so I would like to do, I like to do a weekly practice and remind myself to just get the mirror out on a more regular basis.
Because
Yeah.
I think it, like anything, things change too over time. So it's like get reacquainted. What's going on down there? Aside from just even if you are self-pleasuring, I think it's a good idea to look every now and then.
Yeah. And it's good to mix up your self pleasure game, like with different toys or, put your finger on the outside of the labia, like more like tacoing or run your fingers along the labia, like tickling. I like to do edging. So if I'm getting close to an orgasm, but I know the orgasm isn't going to be as good if I let it happen now. So for me, that's bringing my fingers away from the clit, like all the way down, like below my vaginal opening and just spending some time there fantasizing and then I come back up. So, right, as we're improving our connection with our partners, like we can always improve our connection around self pleasure with ourselves. Maybe you just go right for your genitals. What about your nipples? What about squeezing your own butt? Like, let's try different stuff, try different things.
I
That's
mean,
right.
you just
It
said
doesn't always have to be
fantasizing.
the same. That's right. Doesn't have to be the same routine all the time, you know? Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so fantasy is so important. And I think sometimes we
Mhm.
don't realize that if we were just to kind of allow our minds to go and enter into whatever kind of fantasy that maybe you don't even realize that you've got some fantasy, right?
Yeah, and I hope that the ethos is changing too around fantasizing. So I had girlfriends in my 20s and 30s that were definitely they were shaming, like they didn't like that I was fantasizing. They're like, "Where are you going? You're leaving me." But I have to fantasize to orgasm. So if I don't fantasize, there's no orgasm. And so I hope people are starting to, hey, if you're always doing it, you're like yelling out your ex's name or something. Yeah, your partner might be a little pissed off about that. But just to have a conversation, like, honestly, if I'm having a really good fantasy, guess who's the star of that fantasy? It's not me, it's my lover. So if,
Yes.
say, Chris is going down on me, I have to, I chose that because it's like it could be an any gender
Got it.
name.
I was like, wait a minute, who's Chris?
Who's Chris?
Yeah. What are some other just like, yeah, any gender name? If they're going down on me, I can't look at them and just go, this looks great. I have to close my eyes and create a fantasy about that person. For me, I actually do want my partner to be the star of my fantasies, but I have to close my eyes. I have to feel sensations and to activate my brain, which many of us do. I have to fantasize to orgasm, not to have sex, not to have intimacy, just to
Mhm.
orgasm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you share the fantasy?
Oh, good question. Um, I have so many. But I love that you said that because I share a lot about my fantasies and Desire Makes Me Brave, my new memoir. So if you're curious more about April's fantasies, and there's some of them in there, and it just kind of depends. Some I keep to myself. I'll never share with anyone, and some I do. If it's about them, if they're in fact the star of my fantasy, I like to tell them what it was.
I bet they love that. That's
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm so honored. I'm the star of your
That's
fantasy.
It's wonderful. It's great until like right when you have a breakup and that they're still the star of your fantasies and you're
Oh
like, "Oh
no.
no, I'm self-pleasuring. I can't stop thinking about my ex." Do any of you guys have that problem?
Oh my
Of
gosh.
course. The best
Especially,
fantasy is about an ex.
especially if the sex was really hot, even though the
Yeah.
Really.
relationship ended, you could be in a relationship with somebody that you've got crazy sex, but it's just not a good relationship for you.
That's right.
Yeah. There was that really disturbing and very good movie called Closer with Julia Roberts and um really all-star cast, but I think, one of the characters asked the other character, "Do you fantasize about ex-girlfriends?" And he says, "Every time." I was like, okay. So let's just normalize it. That's gonna happen.
I just
Yeah.
realized I'm having so much fun in this conversation. Like we got to wrap up in a second. And
Yes.
I want folks to know how to find you, April. So tell us how. How can
Yeah, I'm April Hirschman, Hirschman, on everything on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So, and my website is aprilhirschman.com. And I also would love to do a plug for my memoir and dating podcast, which is called Heart Centerfold.
And that is that on every week?
That is not weekly, but I just relaunched it. So I think we're on about episode 6. Yeah. And there's some
Hey,
really fun, a lot of the memoirs have pretty sexy topics. So it's a fun one.
And
congratulations
on
on everything.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, they can,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Most of
perfect.
the places you listen to Audible. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, you've got all this good stuff going on. And the book, they can find that where?
That's at Amazon, or please ask for it at your local bookstore. That would mean the world to me, or Bookshop, which supports local bookstores. So, but yeah, it's also Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Yeah,
Awesome.
but text me or email me if you reach out to a actual bookstore. I want to hear about it.
Great. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. Kisses, hugs. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye for now.